this is one, maybe two videos about Twitter. In fact, I think it's probably two. So I thought it might be worth sharing why I used Twitter the way that I did and what I did with it. Now, primarily, Twitter its primary function for me was always talking to people during the day, and I am very, very sad not to have that network of people that I spoke to, because some of them I've been speaking to for like 9 years, but you know, I'm not crying over spilled milk, because what Twitter also gave me was really useful. So when I came onto Twitter, I had just left my job. I was actually quite traumatised, I think. I had been working in catastrophic policy failure that really has taken the best part of 9 years to recover from. You know, nobody should have to do what I did on behalf of the state. But then I joined Twitter largely because my daughter used to get up at like 4 in the morning, and like just staying awake during the day was like really, you know, when you got a toddler and you're just like literally you have to get through the day smiling and awake and actually just want to die all the time. So Twitter was like that. I think my first tweet was about the fact that it was 5:30 in the morning and I was about to put the fire on. And immediately I got all these journalists and people from politics following me, and I didn't understand why. I never went after any of them. I never saw any of it out, and I very deliberately, because I understood exactly what was going to happen, because I understand class. I never took any of their promises at face value, and I never took a thing that they said at face value, but I made sure that I used Twitter for the period that they did not know what window they had opened to have a good fucking look around and to use it to its maximum capability, which I have done. So all was well until the election, until the 2010 election, and what they did was they idealised me because they only saw me as an object. They were so enthralled with the fact that they were mixing with the hoi polloi outside their class that I was an object, and they couldn't understand why it was that I understood all this stuff, because I was the site of the political responsibility for the things that they don't have to reflect on. So I was always making that connection between what they didn't know and what I had just seen and done, and this system failure. And I was always looking at, oh shit, if they don't know that and they're the policymakers and that's filtering through there, then that's why that's happening. Now I'll give you a bit of advice. Never bare your teeth at a social worker, because here's how we work. We build up context in our assessments, as much information as we can about as many different dimensions of that child's life as we can, as many different resources as we can, and we try and account for the stuff that we don't know and the big gaps that we don't have, and we account for those too. And what we're desperate for while we're doing our assessments is any tiny glimpse of the actual power dynamics in that situation, because once we have those we can get a sense of how this system is moving around this child. But people hide it from you because people know not to show that to a social worker, because most people are not stupid. But after the election, I had to be devalued because they were going to attempt to undermine the rule of law with a policy reflex response to the financial crisis. They had to devalue me, and all of a sudden me saying what I was saying was very threatening to them. And what they did, well, they went after me, they terrorised me for 8 years, which is really, really terrible. That's, by the way, not a very nice thing to do. If you've got terrorised a single mother in poverty who's got a child, you've got something wrong with you, full stop. And if you're doing it to protect your ability to oppose austerity, you're probably a bit mad and you need a psychiatrist. But then, this is class, and this is an artificially constructed class identity. Now, there's a lot of people who are like, we've been silenced because we've been thrown off Twitter. Well, you know, we've been defamed. We don't have access to Twitter, but we never did have access to that culture on Twitter, because that's a class. And those class institutions do not change. Oxford University has still got people with surnames from the Norman fucking invasion. If class was going to change in this country, it would have changed by now. And these are class institutions. But particularly with The Guardian, etc., you're talking about a class who have a false identity,